Joining me now, Misty Marris, trial attorney and legal analyst who's been following all these cases closely. Jesse Weber, he's an attorney and anchor for the Law and Crime Network. He's also a News Nation legal contributor. And Brian Buckmeyer, also an attorney and host at Law and Crime. You know, Misty, it seems to me the prosecution's in a bit of a tough spot here, right? On the one hand, they want to say it's her fault. But they can't say, why are you blaming Alec Baldwin? Because they're going to charge Alec Baldwin later also with involuntary manslaughter.
Oh, absolutely. That's going to be a problem for them. And of course, her defense is pointing directly at Alec Baldwin, pointing at the producer, pointing at the chaos on set. But what's going to happen for the prosecutors when we get to jury instructions? They're going to talk about how there can be more than one cause, that it doesn't just have to be one thing that happened, that it just has to be connected enough to suffice for that causal connection required under the law. So that's how prosecutors are going to skirt around that issue.
Brian, I want to play a little bit more of the defense placing the blame on Alec Baldwin. I want to ask you if you think this is going to be effective. This is number 2.
You're going to hear that Ms. Gutierrez Reed specifically requested to train Mr. Baldwin in a cross draw. You're also going to hear that he did not do that training. He did not set that training up. For whatever reason, Mr. Baldwin pulled it out, and it ends up being pointed right at Ms. Hutchins, the camera, and Mr. Souza. And you're going to hear again that Mr. Baldwin, one of the lead producers, head actor in the movie, who really controlled the set, you're going to hear that he violated some of the most basic gun safety rules you can ever learn.
Brian, does any of that address her possible culpability in this?
It does. I always think in a trial, if you've got a good legal theory and a good story, it goes a long way. When he's describing those actions, I'm thinking of myself as what's called superseding intervening factor. That you can do one thing bad, the way we learned in law school. If I push you into traffic, but then a random person comes by and shoots that person, I didn't cause murder. Yeah, my actions might have been something incorrect, but that superseding intervening factor is the one that I know you're smiling a little.
I disagree.
But this is the theory here, that she might have done something bad, but the person who did something also bad came in and actually caused the crime. The person who had the gun, who didn't do the training, who did the cross draw, which you're not supposed to do, all of those things amounted to him doing something even worse. And the storyline of she tried to raise the bar for good practices on the set and everyone ignored her, I think helps.
I think the difficulty there is, and we heard it in the prosecution's opening statement, she handed the gun over to Dave Halls. And this is somebody who knew about the AD who then gave it to Alec Baldwin, right? They said that was her guilty. But they said that was her discretion. Now, this is somebody, Gutierrez Reed, who knew about the problems on set. She admitted that this was a chaotic scene. The dummy rounds are almost identical to real-life rounds. So given all that, that should have been a moment for her to take pause and say, maybe I shouldn't hand this gun over immediately. That's going to be tough for the defense there.
But ultimately, she's the one who's responsible for the guns. I mean, if you asked me, like, putting aside everything else, who's more responsible here, right? Alec Baldwin or Hannah Gutierrez Reed, regardless of whether either of them should have been charged. I'd say her.
Yeah, because she's the one responsible,
safety,
for
the guns.
Maintenance, to look at the guns, to have the ammunition.
He's handed a gun and said it's clear.
Right. And so this speaks to what we were just talking about, that causation aspect. It's the direct and natural consequences of her actions. The prosecution intends to say she's the one who brought the live ammunition on the set and ultimately loaded the prop gun. So having an intervening cause, that's not a willful act. That's the key term. Because nobody's saying this is on purpose.
Sabotage, which is not what they're alleging right now, that somebody jumped in and planted those bullets in the gun, or someone gave Alec Baldwin the gun. She was a part of that.
So what about this question? If Alec Baldwin never does the improper cross draw, which he's not supposed to do, does anyone die?
Well, she knew that the gun was being used for a rehearsal. She knew the gun was loaded.
But you're not answering the question. If Alec Baldwin does not do the improper act of doing a cross draw...
What does it mean, the improper act of the cross draw?
So, the defense is arguing
that that's what their argument. Oh, you're not supposed to do this and this. I mean, look, there's a whole debate in the actor community about exactly what the responsibility is of an actor in this kind of situation, right? About where he's supposed to... Alec Baldwin himself would say, of course I wouldn't pull the trigger because I'm not supposed to do that. That, I think, was a mistake when he did that interview. But let me ask this. So this is, they played the moment that the authorities arrive at the scene. I want to show you her reaction at the time. This is number 5. And I want to ask you if this helps her, because she freaks out when they arrive at the scene. Let's listen.
The helicopter's here for... Where are these injury wounds? Is she okay? I don't know anything. Right now, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure everything. You doing okay?
No!
Does the fact that she's distraught, you think, help her, Jesse?
No, I mean, I think you could say, look, of course two ways to look at it. Of course she's distraught. Somebody just got shot on the film set. She's probably thinking, shoot, is this my fault? Because one of the things we heard was there was the prop master. The defense said the first thing they did was try to get rid of the evidence. That's what the defense said. So I think people were in that position freaking out about what happened, but also wondering, is this my fault? A gun on the set was used and there was a live round in there. So I would imagine she's, of course, emotional.
Yeah, let's play one more. This is from the defense, again, saying that she's basically a scapegoat for everyone else's mistakes. Number 3.
This was a highly, highly unusual setup and management created by production. That was their fault. And what they've tried to do, and what you're seeing in this courtroom today, is trying to blame it all on Hannah, the 24-year-old, because why? Because she's an easy target. She's the least powerful person on that set.
Misty, it's a compelling story, but it may not fit with exactly what the responsibilities were on the set.
Exactly, and that's what's going to come out in the trial. What is the armorer actually responsible for? But to the defense argument, something that is going to come in a trial that was a big victory for them, an OSHA report from the state agency speaking to the hazards and safety on set and putting the onus on producers that this was rushed, they were trying to get it done fast, under budget, and that there were not proper safety protocols. So I understand where the defense is coming from with this narrative, especially knowing that that's going to come into the courtroom.
Yeah. It helps a lot. When I heard this defense opening argument, I thought to myself of like all the nurses and first responders and medical people during the pandemic who were overworked and exhausted, and people were quitting and firing. It's like, all right, you have this one nurse working back-to-back-to-back shifts. Something's going to slip. And I was like, are you going to try to make that argument?
Comparing her to a pandemic nurse? Come on, Brian.
Hey, I'm a defense attorney. I've got to make this stretch. I was like, if that's the argument you're going to go with, and if people can make that connection, maybe it works. Yeah. That the person who's overworked may multiple
By the way,
hats.
I'm not saying it's not going to work. I think she has a shot here at an acquittal or a hung jury. I mean,
but she knew about it. She knew about it. She communicated her fears about the safety on set. And the night before this happened, 2 of the people that were operating the film cameras left the set because of safety concerns. So she knew about it. It's hard for her to argue.
And the drug use, if that comes in, I mean, is that?
Well, she's charged with that too.
Scale?
So,
yeah, and then she gets rid of it.
The scale, so to speak. All right, everyone's going to stick around. Still ahead,